Let's talk about Disney, because we saw them close their parks in China first. Now all of their theme parks closed, but they're slowly reopening in Asia. Dan Roberts, a lot of people getting ready for Disney to take a big hit. Help put this in perspective for us.
Yeah, Disney earnings, Adam, coming on May 5, and the numbers are not going to be pretty for the parks. I mean, there was a time that lasted nearly a month where all the parks in the world were closed, and now we're going to start to see the ones in Asia open up, as you say, but not in the U.S., and it's unclear when in the U.S. The company has furloughed nearly 100,000 parks workers, which made sense, although it was a brutal number to see because the parks weren't open. And this is the profit engine for the company. That was true for a few years, but last year, again, rose more than 10%, the profit did from the parks. And it was sort of the quiet driver. I mean, the glitz and the glam with Disney was the streaming and the media and Marvel and Pixar, and that's what we often focus on. But the parks are the quiet profit engine. So this was brutal for Disney to have the parks closed. And there are people now, I think, who are getting a little ahead of themselves, kind of projecting out that the parks won't necessarily return to big profits right away, that people will now be hesitant to go to the Disney parks and bring their families, even once they're allowed to open because of coronavirus and social distancing. So there are some analysts expecting big losses, not just for 2020, but then to 2021, projecting that the parks won't really return until 2022. I think it's a little early to say that. I think once things reopen, why would you assume that families won't go to Disney parks anymore? But it's certainly a problem for the company, and it's not the only problem they have. I mean, ESPN right now, which it owns, no live sports. So there are a number of problem areas for Disney. They also can't film new projects right now. Disney Plus subscribers has been a little bit of a silver lining, but we're going to hear a lot more on May 5.
And Dan, I have a comment and also a question for you. The comment would be that the sort of strength of Disney in the past had been the interrelatedness of parks with other parts of the business, right? You have a movie franchise that then has a ride at one of the parks, and you have products tied to the ride and to the movie franchise, so it all works together. So obviously, if the parks are closed, you have to wonder if there's spillover into some of those other areas or that sort of cycle. The other thing I would ask is, even if the parks do open, presumably they would open with increased safety and social distancing precautions. So that profitability that you talked about for the parks, you wonder how much that's going to take a hit, what's going to happen to margins when you're charging the same prices, you have the same operating expenses, if not more, and fewer people.
Yeah, to your first point, Julie, look no further than Star Wars. I mean, Disney World had just opened its big Star Wars attraction, Galaxy's Edge, and then coronavirus hits and they shut the parks down. So that's a real problem for them. You're right. You can imagine that such things will return and still maybe be an attraction once the parks reopen. But now you're getting further and further away from the Rise of Skywalker, which, that movie coming out. So now they've kind of missed the peak buzz window for the Star Wars attraction. Now, to your point about changing things even when they open, I think you can assume that a lot of people that go, even once the coast is clear, so to speak, will want to wear masks. Disney is already selling bundles of masks that have Disney characters on them, which is smart, and the money is going to help coronavirus, relief efforts and medical professionals. But yeah, I think that things might look very different, at least for a little while when they reopen. I mean, we know what Disney parks feel like, right? Very crowded, long lines, lots of people everywhere, lots of kids touching everything. The company is kind of known for how impeccably clean it keeps the Disney parks, but man, that will be a concern for a lot of families. I mean, we were talking earlier in the week, I did a big story on summer camps all over the country and whether they can open in time. Same kind of problems. And the money quote in that article was a camp director said to me, camp is the opposite of social distancing. And I would say the same thing applies to Disney parks. Hard to social distance in a Disney park. But if you want a reminder of just how crucial the parks are to the company, look no further than the fact that Bob Chapek was made CEO and he was previously running the parks. So I think the jury is out to say that, parks will have 2 whole years of mega declines. I think once things reopen, it remains to be seen whether they come roaring back or not.
And they're learning from reopening some of the parks in Asia. We'll have more for you on Yahoo Finance after this.